Three, two, one. Welcome to this published author's interview. My name is Kenneth Muyingo, and with me I have a special guest that I will be interviewing today. First, I just want to mention, if you watch this interview and you would like to write a book yourself and become an author, there's a link with this interview. Click on the link and join the group, become an author and write your first book to connect with like-minded people who are doing the same. And with that said, I would like to get into the interview by asking my guest to say hello to you and to introduce herself.
Okay, yeah, my name is Sonja Price and I'm a published author. I was published with Robert Hale, who is a mainstream publisher. And my book is, I've got it here, is The Giants Look Down.
Very nice.
And it takes place in the Himalayas. So that's why it's The Giants Look Down. And yeah, I'm mainly an author. I also teach creative writing and writing at in Germany. So I'm always toing and froing. But at the moment in the pandemic, I'm stranded in England, which isn't bad because I've got more time to write.
Amazing, amazing. Indeed, the best part about the whole lockdown situation is we have more time on our hands to be creative and to write.
Yes,
and,
absolutely.
Wow.
Because I lead a wonderful life, you know, teaching in Germany, writing in England, but it is split in two, and it's just nice to be at one place, one time, you know, and have time to write. So
indeed. So like right now, it's just England and Germany can wait.
Yes, Germany will have to wait. I'm very, very lucky because the University of Jena is encouraging, obviously, in this situation, encouraging their staff to teach online. So basically, my life is Zoom, as is everyone else's, and I teach my students. Tomorrow I've got a whole day of teaching, and on Tuesday. But then it's less disruptive, obviously, than taking a flight there, getting used to life in Germany, taking a flight back, and then trying to get in the zone, which I'm sure you know about, to get into the zone to write. And what you need to write is boredom and constancy, I think.
Yeah, indeed. Wow, wow. And
yes.
I'm curious about your book, Giants.
The Giants Look Down.
The Giants
Look Down, yes.
Wow.
And
can you tell us about this book? Can you tell us about The Giants Look Down?
Yes, sure, I will tell you about the book. So I'm really the queen of bluff, which is basically what most authors are, because they enter a fictional world. I mean, authors of fiction. And I was listening to a radio interview as I was driving to work in Germany, and it was about the great earthquake in the Vale of Kashmir, which happened in 2005. And they described an amazing landscape, although there was this tragedy happening. But you can imagine, I think everyone can imagine, huge mountains, the tallest mountains in the world, surrounding a vale. And in this vale, there's a kind of string pearl of lakes. Wow. And the whole area, the vale, they farm saffron there, fields of saffron, they have a river running through it, and it's very fertile. But it may be paradise on earth, it's ridden by conflict. So China, India and Pakistan, mainly India and Pakistan, have been fighting over it since partition in the 20th century. And there have been wars fought over the Vale of Kashmir. Now, this is the background. It sounds pretty serious, but I thought I want to write a story about this. And this character came into my mind, a young girl, and she starts off, I won't give away too much, but she's 10 years old. And she wants something that's almost impossible at the time. This takes place in 1960s Kashmir, and it's very patriarchal. And she wants to become a doctor, just like her father. And her mother is much against this. And so I basically write a book of her coming of age and growing up, becoming an adult, and her vision of opening a clinic in the mountains.
Wow. Wow.
It's quite a big story.
It's
and
quite,
I have never been to Kashmir.
It
I've never
sounds
been to
quite
Kashmir.
intriguing. You've never been
Yeah.
there?
Oh, no. So this is
Wow.
what I'm saying. I'm the queen of bluff. But I think that's what an author should be of fiction. So just like I invited your fellow writers to just imagine this place. And because it's so beautiful, I just set a story there. And when I'd set it, obviously I wanted it published.
Ah,
And, when you're a first time writer, you get a lot of rejections and things like that.
yeah,
But the one thing no one ever said was that it was unauthentic. They all
yeah.
felt that it was authentic.
Wow.
And my agent grew up in the British Raj in India. She's a bit older than me, and she said she'd been to the places I described, and she was sold on it.
Wow. So
Yeah.
with your imagination, you painted a picture that
Yes.
the person who has been there
Yes.
actually saw it.
Yes, yes.
Wow.
And I've had other people read it who have visited the lakes in the Vale of Kashmir, uh, and they've seen these houseboats I describe, where my protagonist spends a summer while she's working at a local hospital. So yes, it's all there. And in the background, of course, you have the conflicts and the fact that the Vale of Kashmir is mainly Muslim,
Yeah.
but she is Hindu. There is a small minority of Hindus, and the conflict is there because the Vale of Kashmir decided to belong to mainly Hindu India. So you
Wow.
already have these tensions, and so I kind of wove that into the background, and the story of Jaya, who wants to be just like her dad.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Quite a story. I'm curious, what inspired you to write this book?
Well, lots of people have asked me that. And in fact, after I'd written it, quite justifiably, political journalists said, well, how dare you, write
Yeah.
about something that is so serious as well, this conflict, and, write a story about it. How can you do that? You've never been there. So what I explained to him was, as best I could, I tried to do the situation justice and talk to lots of Indians and Kashmiris, and I did that. I did quite a bit of research, but after I'd written the story, I didn't want to step into any, any minefields or so. But I explained to him that we authors go where our imagination takes us, So I can't say I planned to write a book there. It just came to me, and so he set me about 20 really difficult questions, and kind of like, how dare you do this, and who do you think you are? But not, obviously, he wrapped it up in nice questions, but that was basically the gist of what he was doing. So I spent a long time answering them, and he printed a huge article with writers go where their imagination takes them, had a big picture of me, a big picture of my book, and presented it in a very positive way. So
Wow.
I was very pleased about that. I think it was the Kashmiri Observer or so. So yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. And I'm reminded of a quote. It was by Victor Hugo. He said,
Yes.
there's something that is more powerful than all the armies of the world combined. That is an idea whose time has come. And when I think about what you're saying, that you have not been to this place, you wrote this book.
I want to go to the place.
and somebody tries to attack you as far as that is concerned, and you give them a platform or an audience for that matter and answer their questions.
Yes.
And out of that, there's clarity. And he actually printed an article. He wrote an article and printed it about the whole situation.
I can't remember which newspaper, but you can Google it. It's really, I was very thankful to him for printing it. And I'd obviously come over convincing and explained my position as a writer.
Indeed.
And my way of writing, it may be uncommon, but it may be more common than you think, is not to write about the familiar. I get bored. I don't want to be bored. I'd
Indeed.
only write about something I know. So
Exactly.
I'm writing a new book about a widow's, well, no, she's not a widow, that would be giving too much away, but about a woman's quest to find her missing husband out in the Canadian wilds.
You
And
will tell us more about this one. I'm
it's
curious.
called Black Snake. So
Black
that's my next
snake.
book.
Wow.
Yes. Yes, and it's called Black Snake because just like The Giants Look Down, it has something going on in the background. And I'm sure you've heard that in Canada and also in the United States, they're building pipelines through First Peoples territory. So, reserves, they're called reserves in Canada, they're called reservations in the States. And this is in the background, and she tries to find her missing husband.
Wow. Quite a story. It's, I mean, the beauty of being a writer is like what you say, you go where your imagination takes you.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of being a creative, that sometimes our imagination takes us to places that maybe even humanity has not yet been.
Yes, like The Martian.
Yeah, exactly. And we need to paint the picture for all intentions and purposes, because if the idea comes to you and you don't write this book and the time for the book has come, it's going to happen that someone else is going to write the book. Actually, it's maybe it's something that you can relate to, like you are in a meeting situation and you have an idea to say something and you don't say it, and a few seconds later somebody says the same exact thing and you're like, I was meaning to say that.
Yeah, no, that's very, very annoying. But I still believe that each and every one of us writers can only write the book that they have inside them. I don't think, even if we two wrote about the same subject, it wouldn't be the same book, would it?
No, it wouldn't.
Be the same story.
No, it wouldn't. I agree with you on this one completely, because it's something not coming from outside in, but coming from inside out.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Amazing.
So,
how did you choose the topic for the book?
This one, The Giants Look Down. This one,
yes, The Giants Look Down.
Yeah, lockdown, look down. Yeah, that would be funny, wouldn't it? It just basically came to me, and perhaps as a woman, I could relate to a girl being suppressed or so, or not being able to realize what she wanted to do. And although I really don't identify with Jaya in any other way, you know, people have seen, oh, I see so much of you in there, and I'm thinking, this is a 10-year-old Kashmiri girl. What do they see about me and her? But it basically, the whole thing just came to me, and I'm very interested in, you know, injustices and people trying to fight against something, just like in my new book. And yes, I think I had to be passionate about it, otherwise it wouldn't, the spark wouldn't have, you know, reached the page or sprung over to the to the publisher or my agent or the people who have bought the book. So I think you have to firstly get very passionate about and driven about something, and then it takes off. If you find you're bored, there's no point, is there?
No, there's not. Wow.
No.
Thank you so much. And so you have published The Giants Look Down, and then now you are working on Black Snake.
Yes, Black Snake, that's
it. Do you consider
Yeah.
yourself as a naturally talented writer, or is writing a skill that you've developed over time?
Well, yes and no. I think that you have to have talent. You have to have that gem inside of you. But it needs to be honed. It needs to be practiced. And, you know, people make mistakes that they think that good writers just write one manuscript and send it off. It has to be edited. And the more you write, the better you get. It's just like speaking. The more you speak, the better you get in front of, for instance, you know, a classroom or so. And it has to be practiced, and you can do an awful lot to help your skills. Obviously, if you really don't have an imagination, which I very much doubt that people don't have one, but you know, perhaps extreme natural scientists might be that way. I don't know. I'm just being prejudiced here. I think you have to have it there, but it could be such an uncut, rough gem that you don't even recognize it. I think you have to get those words on paper. You have to polish them a lot, and I think a big mistake is not polishing them enough and just sending them off, because the publisher or the agent will think you're unprofessional, and you want your writing to be taken seriously, don't you?
Yes, indeed. Wow. Thank you so much. I agree with you with the aspect that you mentioned about practicing. There's something I remember somebody said to me, that the things we do repeatedly, it's not that they become easier, but rather our ability to do them increases.
Yes.
And the same applies, I think, with writing, that the more we write, the better we become. And I was just having an interview with somebody else a few minutes ago, and he was mentioning a similar situation, that for him, when he looks at the writings that he did 2 years ago and the writing that he's done this week, he says, I can see the difference. It's visible. I am better. I'm a better writer. I communicate more clearly. And I was like, exactly, that's how it is. You just have to keep doing it.
And obviously people sometimes need a bit of help, you know, like a writing coach or something like that. Or writing coaches can you know, polish that gem for you and get that talent out there. I think in the beginning you have to have something. But on the other hand, Stephen King said, you know, writing classes, the only good that's ever come of them is that he met his wife, you know. So, you know, but perhaps he is such a natural talent. But you've got to remember, he said that he wallpapered his toilet with rejections. You know, so he was rejected so many times. So if he was rejected that many times, he must have honed his craft. He must have written a lot.
Indeed. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's very true indeed. And when you look at your own journey of your writing career, what would you tell me is the one thing that has happened to you personally that has had the greatest impact on you writing books? You mentioned that you got the idea for Giants Look Down when you were in Germany.
Yes.
What happened? Can you tell? I have a feeling there is a wonderful story here.
I think I just wanted to be creative, and I mean, a writer usually loves reading, don't they? So you read a lot and then you get inspired and then you think, oh, I'd love to do that. And I think there always was a wish within me to write, but I didn't have the confidence, you know. It is a very solitary journey, and you don't know if you can write. And in fact, I lived in Germany for decades before I actually wrote something. And I thought, because I was speaking so much English, I now live in England, but I thought because I was speaking so much German, that my English had got rusty. But when I sent off, I think what I did was I sent off the first draft of this book to the Dyslexia first novel competition, and it got long listed, and that gave me such a boost, you know. So I think you have to show your work to someone. You have to give it a platform.
Indeed.
And I've been writing for quite a while, and this is a story. I've been writing for quite a while, and I was very I didn't show anyone. It was just something I did. And then I went along to a Thanksgiving meal at my American friend's house. And I was sitting next to a professor of art from, I think it's Switzerland. And she said, what do you do? And I said, well, I teach English. I said, well, actually, I do like writing. I do write a bit. And she said, so where has that taken you? I said, well, it hasn't taken me anywhere. It's in my computer. She said, why don't you show it to someone then? And she is really responsible for my coming out as a writer. And I started showing it, firstly a friend, and then, you know, then it got more official.
Wow.
Yes. So I think I know of lots of people who don't show their work, or if they have a rejection, that's it. They say, no, then I'm not showing it to any. And I think you have to become quite thick-skinned, you know. So.
Indeed. It's
Yeah.
when we look at like what you mentioned about Stephen King, that he wallpapered his entire toilet with rejection,
Mm,
and look where he is now.
yes.
It's I think in a way, and also I was having another interview with somebody who mentioned Harry Potter,
Yeah. Yes.
and I was like, she's like, you understand the story behind rejection, and I'm like, okay, I get it. It's
I think she was rejected 14 times or something before
exactly, yeah,
someone took it. And Salman Rushdie wrote 6 novels that he banished to his, uh, desk drawer before his first novel got published.
that's right. It's it's amazing, but I think, like you said, having some thick skin does help to
Yeah.
keep us going, and to know that we have what it takes to put our message out there. And also, I think knowing that what you have is unique because it has been
Yes.
given to you. You
Yes.
know, I
Yes.
agree with what you say, because if there's a book that you feel has been given to you to write and you don't write it, it will remain unwritten.
That's so sad. And I thought, I don't want to become an old woman and look back and think, oh, I should have done that. I wish I'd done that.
Yeah,
I mean, rather try. And also, it's a fun. I mean, I don't think I could not write. It's
yeah,
just so therapeutic. It's just so good. You've
yeah,
got to enjoy it. If you're not enjoying it, then you don't enjoy it the whole time. I'm not going to idealize it,
yeah,
but if it's not a generally enjoyable activity, something you want to do, I don't believe in, or perhaps I'm not the kind who would just write for the market. And there are I have quite a few author friends who are in quite commercial romantic fiction,
yeah,
and they're doing rather well, and
yeah,
they can write these, they can whip them off, and I admire that. I couldn't do that myself, and just I think they've already found something that sells, and then they continue to do that. But
yeah,
just to sit down as a first time author and say, right, I'm going to write a bestseller, I think that's a killer. That just
yeah.
kills off all creativity.
Indeed, just right, just
Yeah,
right.
yes,
Wow,
right. Write for yourself, amuse yourself first of all, and then.
wow, that's very good advice.
Yes.
And so you are working on Black Snake, and
Yes.
it's amazing. Thank you for sharing about that. And uh, should we expect? Are you thinking about working about on any other projects after Black Snake? Do you see
Um,
anything else boiling up in the horizon?
No, I think they're all, when I'm writing a novel, it's all consuming. So I'm
Yeah,
just concentrating on that. What I do when I give myself a break from a particular novel or so is I like to write short stories, and I enter them for competitions. And I've had a few published in anthologies and things like that.
yeah,
And uh, for instance, the Shelter anthology, which is for the homeless people, I think that's where I got my first story published.
yeah,
And I think that's a great way for boosting your confidence and
that's
just
right.
doing something that's short and sweet. And I would recommend that to anyone, to get their creative juices flowing. And
Indeed,
it's great fun when it gets accepted, or gets a prize or so.
indeed. Wow.
Yeah.
This is so much. Uh, there's so much value here, and your
Well, thank you.
your your information is very inspiring, and I'm glad we were able to do this. I know that our listeners and viewers will love this too.
Yes.
Um, and I'm just wondering, where can people buy your book, Giants Look Down?
Well, unfortunately or fortunately, Amazon is the link to buy them. It's on Amazon. It's actually just been taken over. So Robert Hale, which used to supply all the English, I know the English libraries, it's been taken over by Joffa Books, which is a very up and coming publisher
Ah,
and crime writer, particularly. Mine isn't particularly crime. Obviously, there is a little crime in it, but it's on Amazon. You just Google The Giants Look Down, or you Google my website, Sonja Price, and you can find all the links there.
very nice. We will put the links to your website and to the book with the interview so that people
Oh,
can
thank
access
you.
them directly. And this was very inspiring. I'm
Oh,
glad
it's
we were able
lovely
to do it.
talking to you.
Yeah. And before I finish, I just wanted to know, is there anything else that you would like to mention that we were not able to address in the interview?
Yes, I think we did address it to a certain point, but I would just give that advice: just never give up. If you want to do it, never give up, and just keep on sending things off. And I have followed the journeys of lots of fellow writers, and it seems to be that the ones who are most industrious, who really believe in themselves, who just carry on writing, they have so many setbacks that in the end, quite a few of them have made it. So that's my advice to our listeners.
Wow, thank you so much, Sonja. This was amazing.
Oh, thank you.
And
It was lovely talking to you.
I should be keeping in touch with you.
Yes.